Hi, this is Heather with Equifitt, and I've been writing a lot lately about balance tools, so I thought I would illustrate some of the options for you as a rider for improving balance and some of the things you can use to do that. If you want to see where I've written about them, you can subscribe to the Equifitt Fitness Tips monthly newsletter that I send out, or you can go to the Facebook page where I've posted some information there as well. Anyway, to show you a little bit about balance tools, balance training is something that I do with a lot of clients because as a rider you need to balance laterally, so side to side, and in the frontal plane, forward and back. In a more seated position type of riding, you might be a little bit more aware and concerned of lateral stability, although you do need to balance your torso front to back, but it's much smaller compared to a jumper, where your seat is out of the saddle, your center of gravity is raised, and your weight distribution is different, and you have a much more dramatic effect on the horse when you're in a two-point position, and the need to balance yourself forward and back so that you're neither behind or ahead of the horse's movement. I'm learning jumping, and I tend to be behind or ahead. I haven't yet found the perfect point because I spent all my life mainly in a seated dressage type position. So learning how to shift that, I'm using some balance training tools when I'm not riding to help me get a little bit better sense of balance in my 2 feet, so that when I do have my riding lesson, I can maximize my time there and progress a lot more quickly. So that's why you would want to use balance tools. Really simple balance tool that you can make as a rider, which I strongly encourage, is a balance board like this. It's a piece of plywood, 2 feet by 18 inches, and it's only this big. 2 feet wide is important. The 18 inches across are really just so that you have adequate foot space for large feet. There's an inch or so at the front and the back of a foot if you're standing on it. But if you have a piece of board, you can use that effectively as well. And right down the middle of it, we've put a 2x3. It's just screwed in there. I don't know if you can see that. You could put a 2x2 or a 2x4, depending how difficult you wanted it to be. This one has the larger flat end on the ground. It makes it a little bit easier. You could turn it around and put the small end on the ground. The purpose of a balance board like this is, unlike a lot of balance tools that are available commercially and popular in gyms, this one does not destabilize you forward and back. It only introduces a destabilization from left to right. So you can learn as a rider to you stand on the board, put your foot just on the inside of the edge, then place your foot on the inside of the other edge, and find a neutral position. And you'll notice that you need to bend your knees, bend your ankles, bend your hips a little bit, and have a certain softness in your joints as you're constantly readjusting until you find that neutral spot in the middle of the board. And you will need some core engagement and a neutral spine, so it's very, very good for posture training. As a rider, once you've found that neutral spot, and that's why I use a board and suggest a board that has got a flat bottom so that you can find a happy neutral spot without having to constantly readjust. Once you've found that, you can introduce other movements. So you can do squats, which would be like posting, so training your body to feel what it feels like to be aligned properly over your feet without moving your leg, your lower leg. So you can improve your posting trot, for example, with a floppy-legged rider by training on the balance board. It creates more of a hip movement, which teaches the rider to stabilize in the lower leg with softness through the joints, which is important, without stiffness, while still being able to move this part of the body. As a dressage rider, or working on flat, you might want to train your body to be able to turn circles a little bit more effectively without throwing your hip out. You notice when some riders throw their hip out one way or the other, the balance board will tell you that you've done that because it will hit the ground. Then you find the middle again, and you turn your body and do different activities. You can also introduce weights as you get more proficient and advanced. You can do upper body exercises with different weights, and it's really good training for the brain and the body to separate what the lower body and the upper body are doing, which is a really great skill for riders as well. So there's a lot you can do with balance tools besides just improving the balance. Some of the other tools that I recommend and use quite a lot with clients are very, very inexpensive and very easy to find. This is a disc. It's filled with air. I found them for about $20 at Walmart or TJ Maxx or Winners or Zellers or Target. Or maybe you can find them at a supply store, but I keep my eyes open for this kind of thing commonly, especially around January, February, when fitness equipment goes on sale. So it is just filled there. It's easy, it's cheap. You can put it on the ground anywhere at the barn. and practice standing on it. Now it wobbles a bit more in multiple directions, but it still helps you to train your body to have that good alignment with the neutral spine and with the soft joints. So it's a really great tool. You can also work with it if you were doing some exercises, for example, like lunges. You can put one foot on it to create a little bit of instability and force your core to work a little bit harder at keeping your hips stable and keeping yourself in alignment even though you have this instability. Because of course when you're riding, the horse is an unstable surface underneath you. So that's how it improves your riding. So another really accessible tool that I use with clients are these balance pods. Again, they're about $20 anywhere that you find them. You're filled with air. And you'll notice they have little spikes on them. So if you have a rider or you're a person with a little bit of disconnect between where your feet are and your limbs are and your body's sense of placement, you can use those little knobs as a sensory stimulation. You can stand on them to prick the bottom of your foot to tell your brain, hey, the foot is over here, so it improves proprioception. Or you can flip them over and stand on them. And 2 tennis balls work really great this way as well. I often cart around a couple of tennis balls to clinics because they're